You know, irritating that hope that your ideas will go away. Are you finding that to be the case?
I don't. I suppose that is true of many in the mainstream in the academy. I mean, I suspect that that's accurate. I do think, though, that after 20 plus years, we are beginning to see many of the kinds of things that we've been writing about become part of the mainstream. For example, the Bank of England is out with a very substantial research staff paper from the staff at the Bank of England that is all about how banking works, how banks create money and so forth under a fiat modern monetary system. And it reads as if any one of us had written it, probably because there's a significant influence. Everybody who read it immediately identified the influence of the MMT literature in that work, and not just there, but Adair Turner is sort of doing MMT-like things in his work, and very high-profile sort of stuff that he's doing. Anyway, I think that it's become too difficult to ignore, and more we're beginning to see people take more of the, well, of course, we've always understood these things to be correct. The question now is not so much whether government can finance deficits by creating new money. I think we've sort of won that debate. The point that we've moved to now is, well, can you control inflation? Can you allow the government to wield its power, which we've now recognized that it has, to increase spending or cut taxes or a combination of the two, in order to provide additional stimulus to aggregate demand without getting into an inflationary problem? And that's the debate that we'd like to have, because the constraint is never that the federal government of the United States is going to run out of dollars. That should never be the debate. The question is not how will we pay for it? Where on earth will we ever find the dollar? Okay, the United States government has a monopoly on the issue and creation of the US dollar. Nobody else can legally create the currency, only the US government. And because of that, they're never going to run into a situation where they become broke, insolvent, unable to meet payment obligations as they can do, and all the sorts of things that you hear people say, oh, we'll turn into Greece, whatever. We're not going to turn into Greece because we didn't make the colossally stupid mistake that the Greeks made, which was to abandon the sovereign currency, in their case, the drachma, and begin spending and borrowing in a currency that they no longer control. And so you're seeing people like Paul Krugman have been writing about this now, the importance of currency regime for years. So I do think on that point, we have won. And now the debate moves to, so what are the limits? And what we have always maintained is that the limits are on the real side of the economy, not on the financial side. So the limits, you are resource constrained, right? The federal government could decide to increase spending on infrastructure, let's say, and very ambitiously decide that we're going to deal with the entire $3.6 trillion infrastructure problem next year. And we're going to hire all the people we need. We're going to get all the raw materials that would be required to do $3.6 trillion of infrastructure investment in 2016. I don't know whether that's possible. I haven't studied the supply side with respect to the labor that would be required, the raw materials that would be required, and so forth. Could it be done? Could it be done in a way that doesn't result in high inflation? I don't know, but it's a question of resource availability, not a question of whether or not we can pay for, right? Whether we could finance such a project. So once we begin to have the debate about the resource constraint, then I think we're firmly on MMT terrain, and that's the debate we ought to be having.